Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
the podcast. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the Port Charles 411 about Sarah Weber. Some of you might not even know who the heck we're talking about.
Because she's only mentioned once every 600 days.
Is it 600 exactly? I thought it was 602. And even when we were trying to do some research, there was just about nothing. And I went 4 pages in on Google. So,
right. It all says the same exact thing. If you want the real scoop, you have to YouTube. As much as I hate to say that, you have to YouTube.
Well, and it was even difficult on YouTube because she did not have 148 episodes from 1 year.
No.
There was no playlist of her.
Right. And most of her episodes played you into something with Lucky and Liz. Mm-hmm. Those were obviously the main characters.
But it was really good to watch Lucky and Liz because a lot of it had to do with Sarah. She just wasn't in the episodes. Yes. And there was actually some things that we didn't mention with Liz that I found by watching the videos.
Okay.
So first of all, remember when we were doing something about somebody got drunk? Scotty got drunk at Kelly's?
Okay.
Was it Scotty? Somebody got drunk at Kelly's, and we're like, when did they serve alcohol? In 1997.
Oh.
First time Liz goes into Kelly's, she sits down and asks Ruby to give her a beer.
I did not. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. You watched a different clip than I did.
Awesome.
I was not even.
Well, but that's good because our format's going to be a little different today. We're not reading.
There's just not enough for us to go back and forth. So we'll just have a general conversation on what we think, what we don't like.
Yep. So I guess we can read a tiny bit using our favorite, generalhospitalfandom.com. And it just says that Dr. Sarah Weber, MD, so it's past tense. Was a fictional character on the ABC soap opera General Hospital. She's the daughter of Jeff Weber and his wife, Carolyn Weber. Did we finally get a name? I thought that we didn't know her name before. I don't remember. I'll have to go back and listen to our own episode right? And see if we knew her name. She's also the granddaughter of the late Dr. Steve Hardy. In 2016, it was revealed that she has a half-sister named Hayden Barnes via an affair that her father had with Naomi Dreyfus. Sarah came to town in June 1997, to take care of Audrey Hardy after she had major brain surgery. When she arrived in Port Charles, she instantly won the heart of Lucky Spencer, and they became close friends. Soon after, she meets Nicholas Cassadine, and their initial encounters left a lot to be desired. Sarah thought that he was arrogant. We could just talk paragraph by paragraph.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
So I didn't watch the first episode that she met Nicholas.
Okay.
So I don't know what he said to her that made her so angry, but I watched the first time that she met Emily.
Yes, I watched that too. Oh, Amber Tamblyn, we miss you.
Oh my God, I love her. I didn't know they had a mall in Port Charles.
They have a juice bar.
Juice bar in the mall that your chauffeur can drive you to anytime that you need.
Nicholas was driving. He was learning how to drive.
Because his car was on order. He had his license. He wasn't learning how to drive. He had his license. His car was on order.
Let's just talk about what babies they look like, though.
Oh, I know. They were so cute.
They were so little.
They were so cute. And Emily was so cute, talking about how cute Nicholas was. He's the nicest guy. He has such a cute smile. Blah, blah, blah. It was so cute. Yeah. But yeah, she gave it to him right then.
Yeah.
Sarah was like, no patience for you.
And that's the thing, is that I was trying to find those videos because I was having the same impression. I'm like, why? Because we don't see the first episode of when, I couldn't find it at least, when Sarah arrived to start taking care of Audrey.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Okay.
So I'm with you. I don't know. I watched that, and then I watched the first time that Emily met Liz. And
I didn't watch that one.
I just kept going.
Because that's why YouTube's bad, is you get stuck in that rabbit hole.
And GH Classic Vids was the YouTube channel that I used a lot.
Oh, okay. I can't tell you which ones I watched. I just typed in Sarah Weber General Hospital and worked my way down the list. So.
Yep. Lilac Star 2. I know I watched a lot of yours. I don't know. There's a lot. Addie Kate.
That one I used.
007. And I mean, they're ones that we've referenced before. So you guys are doing a good job. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
We need to figure out a way to do shout outs on YouTube.
Oh, that would be fun.
I do link their channels in the story notes or the show notes. So
Okay.
I like to give credit where credit's due.
Yes, because we appreciate everyone else doing the work for us, so we just get to sit back and talk about it.
And Lucky
Oh my god.
was so in love with her.
He was like disgustingly in love with her though. I feel like I know that was supposed to be his first big crush that we saw, but he was almost too young in the way that he was crushing on her. He wasn't like a macho 16-year-old boy. It was like a 12, 13-year-old.
It was young love.
He was really just like, oh, everything she does is perfect. Did you watch the conversation? Maybe you didn't get to it in the notes.
That's okay. We'll get to it.
They were in the cafeteria in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and they were talking about, in the storyline, Liz planted test papers or answers to a quiz in Sarah's backpack. And he was like, no, she wouldn't do that.
She's so naive.
Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. It was so, just the tone and the words they used, everything. It was like a 13-year-old crushing on somebody.
And he's like, she's being manipulated by him. She's being.
Yes.
And meanwhile, Liz is like, hi, I like you.
Right.
You're calling her naive. Hello.
Yes. I did think it was funny, now that we know all that we know about Liz, how nasty she was talking about Nicholas. She was like, he just wants to control her and her to think the way that he thinks and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, girlfriend, skip ahead a couple years and you're the one hooking up with him.
Yep. The next line is, shortly after Sarah's arrival, resentful younger sister Lizzie arrives, because Sarah called her Lizzie.
Yes.
Lizzie plotted against Sarah for months, even planting test answers in her backpack.
There you go, see?
But she eventually stopped. So that was Elizabeth, Lucky, Nicholas, and Sarah were all in Mr. Murdy's English class. And they're reading. It was just weird to see Liz and Sarah in the same English class. But I guess they're only, I think Liz said, a year and 2 months apart.
Oh, okay. I wondered that too, why they were like the same clique or whatever, because I imagine them to be 2 years apart. And that's a drastic enough difference. In my mind, at least for classes, you're not in the same classes.
Well, and Sarah is very academic, so it would be different if she were the younger one to be aged up into a class. And I'm not saying Liz is dumb, but I'm just saying that Sarah's the bookworm, you know?
Right.
And so I agree. That's I don't know if it's because they were new.
Maybe. I would have pictured Nicholas and Sarah in like the advanced classes because he had all that private schooling and everything.
Right.
You would think he would be a little bit ahead of public school.
Yeah.
And then luckily in Liz back behind. But I guess that's how it worked.
And that's when Sarah actually started to, I guess, develop feelings for him. Here, next paragraph. We're doing this so well this week, guys. After getting to know Nicholas better, Sarah began developing feelings for him, and they were seriously dating. Then Nicholas was shot in the throat at Luke Spencer's club and consequently suffered a stroke, which caused him to lose the ability to speak properly. He was quite angry and depressed. This crisis put great stress on his relationship with Sarah. He refused to see her or speak to her for months. I'm sorry, if we just said 3 times he could not talk, I think it's a little mean to say he refused to speak to her. My 2 cents. Anyway, and I feel like that's because she realized that Nicholas just had a completely different upbringing, and he wasn't, he's Nicholas, he's not necessarily.
He's definitely used to commanding attention and kind of running the show.
But he's very polished.
The rest of those. Right.
Even watching him in high school, the way that he was talking about things, everyone's laughing at him. And you just see Sarah like, why are you guys laughing at him? And the teacher just says, perhaps it's because you don't know you need to raise your hand. And the teacher's kind of getting on him about it. But I guess Nicholas was cutting class too. So he's like, maybe if you came to class once in a while, you would know.
Did you watch where they had their first dance?
No, I didn't. No.
Okay. I mean, it wasn't anything amazing. It was
Which pair?
That I did not pay attention to. I don't know if it even said it. But yeah.
We'll just say it was Pier 50.
Of course it was. It was down at the docks, and he was walking Nurse Amy.
Okay.
Off. I'm like, I don't know why I couldn't think of her name for a minute. Walking her home, and she saw the party and was like, no, stay here, have a good time. I have to go home and get a shower. Just go have fun. And as he turned back around, he hit into Sarah and was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And so then she actually asked him to dance, and they ended up dancing. And they didn't kiss then, but they were all cute and high school snuggly dancing.
Aww.
So
were they 3 feet,
They were
arms
not.
length apart, whatever.
They were not 3 feet apart.
So they were like wedding dancing, but in high school?
Yes.
Aw.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't inappropriate, but they weren't 3 feet away from each other either. So.
Swaying back and forth. They were actually moving.
Yes.
Not in the perfect line down the gym.
Those were the best dances. What are you talking about, Shannon?
Well, and then, so a couple of the other episodes that I watched after that was, I guess, so she did go on a date with Lucky, and I think it was before that she went to a concert, and it was because it was after Lucky had met Liz, and Lucky was going to pick up Sarah, and Liz answered the door, and she thought that he found her. No, he was there to get sister. And they went to see like a concert in the park, and there were fireworks, and
was it 4th of July?
No, I don't think it was, but it might have been because it would have been right after. No, because Liz came in August, didn't she? We just talked about her for 3 weeks.
I know. I should know it better. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I didn't know either. That's why I had to ask you. And so, no, I don't think it was the 4th of July. For whatever reason, they were having fireworks. And he was just like beelining right across from, looking past Liz, like totally gaga over Sarah, giving her his jacket because it was cold. Aww. But then I think Liz had a crush on him right from the beginning, and she kept trying to to get him to not like her, to Sarah. I think after the concert, he was like, I'm going to make her one of my famous, I think he said mix, like CD or like a mix album. And I was like, oh, please say mixtape. But I don't think he did. I think it was a CD because that's what we did in the 90s. We burned.
Exactly.
Oh, like Liz is like refusing to answer any questions about Sarah. And he's like, why won't you help me? This, that, and the other thing. And then she winds up telling Lucky that Sarah was going to go on a date or was on a date with Nicholas.
I did. I watched that because he was asking her. He was like, I have a very serious question to ask you.
That was what kind of music?
Yes. And she was ready for him to ask her out or ask her something. You could tell by the look on her face. And she was like, what? And he said, does your sister really like classical music? And she was not happy.
Nope.
But I love that we got to see Aunt Ruby and that.
I know.
She came on and I out loud was like, Aunt Ruby. And my kids were like, who? And I was like, it's okay. You don't know.
Aunt Audrey.
Yes.
And Audrey was really snippy with Liz.
She was.
It was.
She was not handling her rape properly, so she couldn't help Liz handle hers.
That's true. I didn't even watch that part, though.
They just said it a couple of times. Eventually, they got the letter that said they could both go to Africa to be with their parents, and Liz wouldn't even talk about it, but she was on the run, not on the run, but staying with Lucky in different establishments and everything, and that was the reason that she wouldn't stay with her grandma, is because her grandma kept saying, it's in the past, just leave it there and move on, and didn't want her to deal with any of the emotions.
Yeah, I didn't get that far. It was just more of, so with the test results, Liz planted them in Sarah's backpack, but Nicholas took the fall for her.
Right.
So then when Sarah went home, I was talking to Audrey about it. I think she figured out that Liz probably did something with it, and Sarah still got to go out that night, and Liz was still grounded from something before, and Liz is like, but she stole the test results, and she's like, just because she explained trust. She goes, I don't love either of you any differently, but I trust you both differently. And she's like, I think that Sarah is always going to try to make the right decision. She's going to mess up sometimes, but her intention is always the right thing. She goes, and I can trust her to do that. And she goes, I don't have that same trust with you.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay, then. Yeah, I didn't watch that part of it. She was getting a little sassy there.
All right. So, back to the Sarah Nicholas. Nicholas was in the hospital. Do we have anything else to say about?
No, that was when they broke up and they were done, right? Because he couldn't talk. He didn't want to see her.
So Sarah became quite manipulative, asking Emily Bowen Quartermaine to deliver notes for her, telling the Quartermaines of Emily's secret journeys to Windermere once she began to fear Emily and Nicholas were growing too close. Foreshadow. This move backfired as he grew closer to Robin Scorpio and lost any interest he ever had in Sarah. The two broke up. When was Nicholas into Robin? Apparently for the sentence he was. But I don't remember him.
Didn't she bring him schoolwork or something? Wasn't that part of all that?
Are they still in the same? Robin wasn't in school when they were, was she?
Maybe she was helping him do his schoolwork. I don't know. She was at Windermere for something.
We're going to have to do a whole thing on Nicholas, too.
Yes.
That's going to be a while.
Yeah, that might be a 2 or 3-parter.
Yes. Sarah informed Lucky that he could date her if he wanted to.
Wow. That's a sentence.
Here's the permission.
You may ask me out and I might say yes.
Well, so I know that Nicholas and Lucky found out early on that they were brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But did Sarah didn't know that they were brothers when they were each vying for her attention at first, did she?
She had to have.
Okay.
Yeah, she knew when the whole test thing went down, test answers went down. She definitely knew at that point because she said, Nicholas said, I think it is Liz that planted the papers. And she said, no, she's my sister, blah, blah, blah. And then made the comment, just because you and your brother don't get along doesn't mean that that's the way my sister and I are.
Right.
So,
she really was naive.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, Lucky was more interested in Liz. And Liz had changed after her rape, causing her and Sarah to become much closer. When Audrey arranged for Sarah and Liz to visit their parents in Europe, Sarah left Port Charles, and that was July or June 1998. And then she didn't come back until 2002.
Which is crazy.
And so she returned in early 2002, getting a job interning at the hospital. The old tensions with Liz that were mentioned before she left town started beginning to flare up. Sarah had ignored Lucky during her last stint in Port Charles, but in her time away, he had grown into a hunky young man. Listen, he was always. Maybe he wasn't hunky, but he was gorgeous.
He was gorgeous. And he was just so sweet.
Yes.
He played that character perfectly for how sweet it was, even if he was too young to be called hunky at that time.
Did you listen to Jonathan Jackson's interview with Stephen Bradford?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, you have to.
You keep yelling at me about that. I have not.
I don't yell at you.
She yells at me all the time.
I do not. I could yell at you if you want. That's exactly what I say to my kids. I'm like, I could yell if you really want me to.
No, that's okay. You won't make me cry.
Because I can get loud. Anyway, side plug, which we are absolutely getting nothing from. You have to listen to Stephen Bradford's interview with Jonathan Jackson. It's just...
I will make sure that I do that.
So Sarah was deeply drawn to him, and although neither she nor Lucky wanted to hurt Elizabeth, they began seeing each other behind her back. Liz found out and cut them both out of her life. I did not watch any of this. I watched a little bit where she and Lucky went to Sarah, basically acting like they were back together.
Oh, okay.
It was really weird, so I feel like I missed something completely in context.
So I watched the first time that they slept together and Liz walked in on them.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, ladies, if you're hooking up with someone and the other woman walks in or an ex walks in and he jumps out of bed to go talk to that other woman, I feel like you know where your relationship stands and you probably want to put your clothes on and leave. She opened the door. I'm assuming she was going to, I didn't watch before that, but I'm assuming from the way she was acting that she was going to proclaim her love for him or whatever. She stood at the door and she could hear two different voices. So she whipped it open and there in bed is him and Sarah. And she went off about, don't even try to apologize. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear anything from you. And she turned around and walked away. And he jumped right out of bed and went following her into the hallway, swearing up and down this was the first time that it happened and nobody meant to hurt her and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, no, you shouldn't be going after her. Right. Absolutely not. You should be staying in bed with who you're in bed with. But okay. And then she made some snippy comment to Sarah of like she walked back and said to Sarah, that's fine. I'm done with him. You can go back to sleeping with him in the same bed that he slept with me before. And then yes. And then she turns to him and she's like, might as well do it on Kelly's counter too, and walked away. So she was not happy. Wow. She had her moment. It was good. It was really good.
Oh man. I'm going to have to go watch that.
So just to clarify though, Sarah and Nicholas did not sleep together?
I don't think so.
Okay, because I typed it in to see if it would come up with like the first time they slept together, and nothing came up. But when I saw her in bed with Lucky, I was just like, oh my God, if they both slept with each other, that's just gross.
It's weird.
That's so gross. So I really, not that it's that much less gross that they slept with one brother, but still, if it was both of them, oh, that's gross.
I know that I found a little write up about it and then I couldn't find it again. But there was one time where Liz wanted to totally embarrass Sarah
Okay.
and to get her into trouble because she had a brown bag or something. And inside of it, she was going to show Audrey something. And I think Liz switched out the bags and it was a bag of condoms.
Oh, okay.
And she was like, look at what Nicholas got me. And there you go.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're just jumping all over the place. We're jumping back into the 90s. Liz also tried to ruin Sarah's relationship with Nicholas because there was a rumor that Stefan had actually killed Dr. Hardy.
Oh, okay.
And Liz heard about it. And right before Sarah was about ready to walk out the door on her date, she was like, don't you think you should know? Like, this is what I just heard, blah, blah, blah. And so Sarah wound up canceling, and Audrey tore Liz a new one because Audrey came in and I mean, they were yelling. And Audrey's like, what's going on? And Sarah says, Liz was just telling me a rumor about grandpa or whatever.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I happen to be the authority on Steve Hardy in this house. What was it? And I can tell you if it was true. And Liz winds up saying it. And Audrey tore her a new one. She was like, how dare you? And she stood up for Nicholas too. She goes, I don't know that to be true. And even if it was, it has nothing to do with Nicholas. You're ruining like this poor young innocent man's reputation.
Wow.
And you had to do that to your sister right before you knew she was going on a date with him.
Wow.
And she was ashamed of her, which is the worst.
That is the worst for Grammy to say to you. My God.
Yep. So yeah, I really don't think that they slept together.
Okay.
Because then he got shot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I would assume not, since we can't find anything on YouTube. But if you remember, let me know. It'll just gross me out even more. But it was just ew. Just ew, the idea of it. So, but the scene of Liz seeing them together was a good scene. You should go back and watch that. I will watch that. She told them what she thought.
But then Sarah now had the chance to openly date Lucky. But the magic was apparently gone, because they weren't sneaking around.
Right.
Sarah vanished from town, and when last mentioned by Audrey, had returned to Europe to spend time with her parents. And all we know now is that she is said to be living in Monterey, California. And on June 14th, 2018, after getting contacted by her sister Elizabeth's fiance, Franco Baldwin, about their upcoming wedding, she called to congratulate them.
Yes.
She also appeared in Port Charles. And did you know that Rebecca Herbst actually auditioned for Sarah?
No.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that she is Elizabeth.
Yes.
I couldn't imagine her as Sarah.
No.
Although she was quite a pain in the butt in the beginning. I mean, I know we've talked about she was supposed to be the bad sister, though. But seeing how nasty she was to Sarah, she was the bad sister.
Mm-hmm. She was. And there was 2 actresses that played Sarah. She was introduced by Jennifer Skye, and when she came back in 2002, she was played by Sarah Lane.
Okay.
And she's mentioned in very, 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 very rare occasions.
Yes.
And Hayden's never met her that we know of.
Mm-mm.
So.
No, they should have a sister reunion.
I know. It'd be great.
Or union, because they haven't met yet for it to be a reunion.
Right. Exactly. So, I don't know. I was kind of bummed that I wasn't able to find more. That
there really wasn't that much. I mean, watching the old clips was interesting just to see it actually play out. Mm-hmm. But pretty much everything that said, she came, she went. That was pretty much it.
She started the little love triangle. I think the most interesting thing for me was to see them all in high school.
Yes.
And in class and being babies. So, I don't know. Is that it?
I think that's it.
All right. Sorry, this was kind of probably anticlimactic for some of you.
Yeah.
It kind of was for us, too.
But we were trying to find something just to fill the week, because next week's Halloween.
Correct.
So
for next week's Port Charles 411, we are going to talk more about the different Halloween things that have happened on General Hospital.
Yay.
So if you have a favorite other than Liz and the boys dressing like football players and a cheerleader, please, comment on our Instagram or on our Twitter. Email us at pier54podcast@gmail.com. And I don't know what we're going to do after Halloween.
I don't know.
We'll have to find something short because then we have Thanksgiving.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so if you have a favorite Halloween memory, let us know.
I hope that 50 people say Liz in her cheerleading costume just to
No.
mess with us.
We will ignore you.
Over and over again.
You
we
will
had to
not
say it
get a
every
shout
week.
out. Nope. Oh, but I do want to give a little shout out to, I posted on Instagram asking people if they knew who this barely mentioned blonde was. And I posted both actresses.
Okay.
Can you identify this barely talked about blonde? We'll be talking about her on this Thursday's Port Charles 411. And 6 people said Sarah.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yep.
At least 6 people know who she is.
Mix 1722. Liz's sister Sarah, ? Yep. It's Heather Leslie. Yes, it's Sarah. LUVHPSS1, Sarah Weber. Miss Trisha Hodges, Sarah Weber, Elizabeth's sister and rival for Lucky's heart, (at first). You're right. Purple Page Rules, 110118. I just like your name.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you're not BFFs with that person.
Sarah Weber, Elizabeth's sister, and Brenda I.B., Sarah Weber. So I have no prizes, but thank you. We need to get prizes. We need to do some stuff.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. So I guess join us back on Monday as we do the recap for this week's episodes.
Yep.
And next week we'll do the Halloween episode for the Port Charles 411.
Yay, I'm excited for that one.
Me too.
Have a good weekend.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to pier54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review.
And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Pier 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at pier54podcast@gmail.com.